So we want to explain how you can start making changes to these reference models even as you have animation on this character. Let's say we decide to switch over in production and we want to actually see what the clothed character looks like shooting this gun. So I would open up my model, access the reference model, and if I navigated to the reference that I wanted to work with, let's say I wanted to deal with the low-res cloth model. That's actually the medium res rig model that I see right here. And if I switch to it, we do get a switch to the model, but the problem is that the clothes don't have any cloth operators on them, so the clothes just stay behind. This is what's actually kind of cool. So we might make a call to one of our departments asking someone to actually fit clothes to the character. They don't necessarily have to have cloth operators on them, but they do need to follow the body. So what I can actually do in midstream is just make changes to this low-res cloth model that I'm referencing, which again is referenced as the cloth medium res rig model. So to do that, again, I'm going to save my scene here, and I'll actually just make sure I'll resave it. I'll save in the low-res format. So I have no cloth in the scene. I'll just overwrite again. And then we would send a request to fix this model. So in the other department, pretending I am that other department right now, we open up our browser and we get the request to make changes to our model. And so we bring in the medium res rig model. We just import it as a regular old-fashioned model, just drag and drop into the scene, an internal model. It's black, which means we can edit it. Now I don't have any operators on my cloth. If you actually look at the operator stack, it's completely empty. So if I use Gator, I could perhaps extract the weights from the underlying envelope and pass them on to my cloth. So let's try that. Gator, get property Gator, and I'll pick the mesh to act as a reference for Gator, and then right click. And all I'm really interested in pulling in onto this mesh are the envelope weights. I don't really want shapes even if I did have them, so I'm going to be a little bit picky here and specify my properties to transfer. And all I'm looking at transferring are the envelope weights. So I'll select the in property and transfer them to the out object. So now at least when the character moves, we get some kind of a deformation. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it works. I'm actually going to just jump into the model here and make sure that it is in a rest pose. Yeah, okay, that arm was just a little bit off. You can do a little bit of smoothing if you have to. You can see there were a couple areas there that weren't working as well as they could. But again, this character is going to follow along for the most part. So if actually I open up the operator stack, I can see Gator operating way down deep in the modeling stack, and that's slowing things down. So I'll freeze the Gator operator, which will significantly speed my rig performance up. And now at least the geometry will follow along as I move the character. It's not perfect, but again, it'll work. So now that I've made changes to this character, I'll just kind of go in here and make sure that the rest pose is applied to the character. I'll access my geometry group and make sure that I can't allow selecting those pieces of geometry. The clothing isn't actually a part of my geo group yet, the jogging suit, so I'll actually drag it into the geo group, which will make it unselectable. So the last part of this would be to kind of jump in and export the model one more time. So I'll do exactly that. I'll close everything up, middle click on the model, and do an export. So I could overwrite the original model that was sitting there, or write to a new file. So if we replace the Mulcore cloth medium res rig model, I'll say yes. Now when I open up my scene that contained the actual reference, we can switch reference models, resolutions. Under the model parent, I'll access the reference model. And now if I move over to that cloth medium res rig model, you can see that the clothes have all been transferred across. And all the animation, of course, remains intact. Again, there is some crash through, but as a quick proxy tool to be able to get a clothed version of our character into the scene very quickly, this is a very nice behavior.